Neha Thanki is a project manager at BookNet Canada, where primary projects include BNC SalesData and BNC BiblioShare. Before joining BookNet, she worked in trade sales at Scholastic. Please join me in welcoming Neha.
Hello, everyone. My name's Neha. I manage a few products here at BookNet, the BiblioShare web form, Kobo Insight, the Bisecta Thema translator, to name a few. And I'm also managing the development of SalesData version 3, which is what I'm here to talk about. So you all know SalesData. It gives you weekly sales reports for books that sell within the Canadian market. And you can look up things like market share for publishers, for distributors, and for subjects. And also how specific titles have performed in sales over time. So it's a pretty handy tool. It's also our second oldest product and probably the thing we're best known for. Sorry, EDI. My agenda today is basically to take you through why we decided to rebuild SalesData and how we've gone about it and when you can expect to see it. So far, SalesData has followed a pretty normal trajectory of product development, growth, and maturity. SalesData version 1 was launched in 2005 after long years spent bringing our stakeholders together to build a useful product that was totally unique in the Canadian market. In 2005, we launched with 24 retailers, including Indigo, The Bookshelf, Book City, and Wordsworth, and a mere 10 users from about 5 or so different accounts. 4 years later, in 2009, we faced the growing needs of a growing user base. And at that time, we had about 1,100 stores or different retail locations that were reporting into SalesData. And we'd also grown to about 1,079 users. So to better address this growth and the amount of data that we were receiving and an increased need for more types of reporting, we redesigned SalesData at that time as well. The redesign was extensive and added the title trend and titles by market reports to the system. And today, SalesData is all grown up. We survived high school. We now have 1,648 locations reporting in every single week from 69 different retailers, with a total of 1,803 different user accounts. While SalesData's last 2 iterations were developed by external developers, we've amassed a great deal of experience and knowledge internally since 2005, and also a great deal more people. So it made a lot of sense to bring development in-house for this new iteration. Everything from the database architecture to interface design is being developed internally at BookNet. Since 2009, a bunch of important things that inform how we use the web to get information have changed quite a bit. At the very least, how our customers use the web to access information has changed. Multiple screens are just the tip of the iceberg. There's a proliferation in the types of data that we get asked for. We're seeing a lot more appetite for contextual delivery of data. For example, wouldn't it be cool if we could tie promotional campaign data to weekly sales to make it easier to quantify relationships between these things? Those sorts of things. So, to get a structured understanding of what our users wanted and how they had changed, we decided to trap them individually in a windowless room and grill them on all the things. We were curious about how they access and use small s sales data in their businesses, not just through BNC SalesData, but just in general, what kind of tools they used and how they put all that information together. So we wanted to know how our site could make it easier for them to make use of this information. So we talked to about 22 people in formal sessions, and we solicited survey feedback from about 120 others. Luckily, SalesData has some really awesome users who are very appreciative of our efforts and service, even if they don't always get the name right. That's fine. A big shout out and thank you to everyone who participated. It was really cool for us to leave our cave for a bit to talk to you guys, and it helped us a great deal. I'd like to highlight a few of our main takeaways from those sessions. We often got feedback that was repetitive, and this actually made it very easy to confirm what the main problems are that we absolutely have to address in this new version. Performance is by far our biggest priority. So every database or UI decision that we make is weighed against performance. Our second biggest concern is one of usability. We found that people often didn't know that they had the ability to run certain kinds of reports or access certain kinds of data. So we're making the site structure intuitive and adding contextual inline help where needed. The other feature we're implementing is full text search on things like title text and contributor names. And finally, we have a few more focused improvements that involve charting high-level data, showing Indigo Online data, and using more BiblioShare data in general. There are also a bunch of opportunities that this rebuild will allow us to do in later phases. There's a real need for integrating Prospector Gap Analysis into SalesData. Prospector, for those who don't know, is our retailer-focused sales data tool. It's used by retailers to gain insight into how their sales and stock levels are faring against an anonymous group of similar retailers. So it basically shows them where the stocking or selling gaps are between themselves and their peer group. So finally, we're seeing a lot of interest in incorporating other types of data, like the daily Indigo sales, but also library data that deals with circulation and holds numbers. Which brings me to, as product developers, the opportunity we're most excited about is making SalesData more flexible in its architecture and in its design. So this way, we can easily incorporate new types of reports for new types of data in the future without having to fully change the overall system. So we distilled these user-given priorities into two broad categories, processing and website design. Our first and foremost goal was to build a new SalesData backend architecture. It needed to automatically intake and error check retailer files, and to do so much quicker than it currently does. For our users, this quick processing allows us to monitor files and quickly release markets. So automated error checking also means that we and our retail partners will have to spend less time manually checking for errors and fixing bad data. Our new processor forms the backbone for the entire reporting site and really for this entire project. It affects how quickly we can process data in and how quickly we can get it out on the site when somebody runs a report. While I can't show you what the new processor looks like, I can talk to you about some of its effects. We ran comparative tests between the current and the new processor to quantify the improvements that we've made. And we ran these tests also because we like numbers. I won't bore you with the minutia, but I will throw out a couple of significant numbers. So it takes our new processor approximately 30 minutes of total time to process all the sales files we get in a week. Our current processor takes about a day and a half. So of course, in real time, all of this processing is spread out over the week because we get data at different times from different retailers. But basically, the point is that the faster we can process a single retailer's files means the faster we can release that market and give you access to it on the reporting site. We also run a full Biblio refresh that's done annually. It updates all the title information and the publisher, imprint, distributor relationships for the site. This is in addition to the daily Biblio updates that we run. But this annual step is an important one. It catches changes that may not have been included in the daily files. So this full Biblio load currently takes about 2 days to process, and it runs over a weekend and needs to be closely monitored, and the website is usually taken down for this duration. With our new processor, this full Biblio feed will take only 2 to 3 hours to process, which means that the site only has to be down for a couple of hours instead of a couple of days. So back to our development goals. Our second goal, after better processing, was to build a new site to keep on top of design best practices. So we're attempting to balance simplicity with the need to handle some pretty complex reporting across devices. We also want to make page loads and report generation super fast, and to keep the design flexible so that we can Van Damme new reports as needed. Just want to make a PSA here. Please, please, upgrade your browsers. If you're using anything less than IE10, it might be a bit of a problem. But talk to me after if that is an issue. Because I want to hear your story. So moving on. I want to take you guys for a quick spin of a few of the new site's pages. You'll have to wait until the full release to see everything, but I want to give you a good idea now of the amount of change that you're going to see once the new site is live. So as we set out to give the sales data site a completely new face, the first item we tackled was the sales data logo, because it was time. We used this new logo that you see here to set the tone for the rest of the design. Next up, we moved on to the navigational structure. One of our major goals was to make all the reports, and even the hidden reports, accessible by giving them proper landing pages. We also wanted to create a site that can be easily extended when we need to add new reports. So we settled on this left-hand navigational structure, and it just makes us that much easier to add reports and easier for a user to quickly access the report they're looking for with a simple click or a touch. It also lets us preserve maximum page space for larger reports like the Bestseller Report by allowing the user to hide the menu. Next up, we tackled design for two of our most popular reports, the bestseller and the title ISBN, and basically used them as templates for designing the remaining reports. So we started with the bestseller criteria page, which currently is a pretty complex page. There's a lot of items there that you can use to filter your report by. But according to our user interviews, every single one of these options on the bestseller criteria page is used by somebody who would be very sad if it went missing. So we don't really have the heart to remove any items as an easy way to make the screen simpler. Instead, we worked on the flow of the page and on sectioning fields in a way that enables users to quickly run a report with the mere defaults or to explore other ways of filtering their data if they want to. We've also added some new options to the criteria page, like picking custom start and end dates instead of using date presets. This was a pretty big ask from a lot of you. We've enabled filtering the bestseller report based on whether titles have bibliodata associated with them. That means you can limit results to only those titles that have biblio, or you can audit how many of your, say, top 1,000 are missing biblio. So moving on to the results page, one large change that we're making here is to remove the need to limit the search to a set number of rows. And we want to do this while still keeping report generation time to a few seconds. When somebody runs a bestseller, we want them to get back all available data, and they can page through it or sort through it however they want. We weren't able to do this in the current system, the way that it's built, because of how long it takes to run reports that are over a few thousand rows. But we hope to change this in the new system. The bestseller report has by far the largest number of columns of any sales data report. And while these columns are customizable, you can choose whether to hide or show them. There are a lot of users who simply use the default, which is show all. So we figured it would be super useful to create a set of BNC defaults for each report that show a bare minimum of columns that we select. And then we would give the users the ability to add or remove columns and save them for every single report type. We've also improved the workflow around saving and emailing recurring reports and have added the ability to email a report on the spot. The custom columns, saving, and email functionality that I'm showing you here remains consistent throughout the site and is available for all reports and not just the bestseller. Moving on to the title ISBN report, we gave it the same criteria page treatment. On the current site, this report is only accessible via the quick search box. You type in a valid ISBN, and a title ISBN report comes up. We wanted to give this report its own criteria page, just to give users more control over the report before they run it. So, like in the bestseller, users can select custom start and end dates, pick a market, and choose from a default set of columns right here on the criteria page. Now this is the title ISBN results screen. I've fudged some data here because the results are confidential, but I think you get the gist of what's on this page. I mean, what I'm saying is that the graph is not really going to look like this. So this is where we're implementing some charted analytics. We certainly aren't trying to recreate the Excel experience, but we do want to expose interesting patterns at a high level that would call out cases where more digging needs to be done. So data that's reported over time, like in the title ISBN, presents a really good opportunity for us to do this. We're using more charting on the homepage as well, but we're still working on the homepage, so you'll have to wait until launch to see those charts in action. But I want you to take comfort in the fact that it'll probably look a lot like this. Just kidding. Remember these? So we're in the thick of things right now. Everybody has their heads down, fingers typing. We're focusing now on getting every report that's currently available in SalesData redesigned properly to fit with the new site design and to significantly improve their run times. So this brings me to timeline things, because I bet you're wondering when all this stuff is going to be released. So we started working on version 3 in 2014. We began by talking to users and then by designing from the inside out. So we spent most of last year building our processor, the admin site needed to maintain it, and then by setting up a database structure that would allow our new site to run reports multiple times faster than the current site. So towards the middle of last year, we began designing the interface for the new reporting site and began technically designing the types of reports that we want the site to include. Later this summer, we're going to release a beta version of the full site that includes all the reports currently seen in SalesData. We'll have our advisory committee plus the users we spoke to last year test drive the site and give us their feedback. We'd like to make the new version available to all users by this fall, but it will depend a little bit on how beta testing goes. Now, this launch is going to be a soft launch in that we're not immediately going to set a single date on which the old system disappears entirely and is replaced by the new one, throwing you all to the sharks. The new site is going to run in parallel with the old site for the first few weeks. So this is a bit of a grace period for all our users to familiarize themselves with the new system so that we don't have to shock you into the new one. Before I finish, I'd like to call out that there's already a list of things that we aren't going to get to for launch. So if your fave feature is on this list, I'm sorry, but please bear with us. Our next phase of development will include the Prospector integration, adding Indigo daily reports to the site, adding library data if we can, and addressing anything else that comes out of the new system being released into the wild. So thanks so much for listening, you guys.